Hey guys, welcome back to another edition of StarCraft 2 Team Strategy. We're going to be going through 3 versus 3 games, and all these games we're going to be featuring double Zerg on our team, and in all the games I have for you today, it's going to be a double Zerg and a Terran player. And I'm going to show you why double Zerg-Terran is the most potent and most feared combination in 3 versus 3. And it really comes down to the fact that Lings and Hellions just get out super early on the map. You can get really early map control, and then oftentimes you can take out one player right at the beginning within the first 5 minutes of the game. So this game kind of features double 10 pool, which is really the standard opening you can do here. You can do 12 pool if you want to, where you do a double extractor trick, but that's more if you want to play a little defensive. You'll get a few more Lings, but your speed will be just a little bit later. But sometimes having a little bit later speed ends up being a bit of an issue, and I'm going to show that in this game, as getting speed first ends up being a pretty big deal, and that's essentially what's able to win us the game. So in this case, if you're a Terran player and you have 2 Zerg partners like this, you really should be going for a gas first build. You want to get a reactored factory as quickly as possible, and whether you transition into Blue Flame Hellions or Marauders or Banshees after that, that really kind of depends on the game, what your opponent's races are, and a couple other things. But when you're going against another team with 2 Zergs and a Terran, probably the best build to do is Blue Flame first. If you transition to Banshees after that, that's fine, but you really want to get Blue Flame because you're going to see a lot of Lings and you're going to see a lot of Hellions in the game. And usually the person who wins the team that wins the Ling-Hellion war ends up winning the game. Banshees usually are a little bit late to get involved to really sway things one way or another. So in this case, my partner and I both did 10 pools. Fights Fatum did a 10 pool as well, and that's why he's out. But his partner, Catalog or Catablog or whatever the hell his name is, he ended up going for a little bit later of a pool, did more of a defensive build. And you're just going to notice over here we have all of our speeds. Purple's speed is pretty far behind the rest of us. I'm going to end up getting speed first because I went for an extractor immediately after putting my spawning pool down. I didn't get another drone. You can see right here that I am going to get speed first, and as a result, in this fight, speed is going to be a huge advantage because when you have speed, your Lings are going to surround so much quicker. So when they get caught with like a few units out in the open like that, like Purple had a few units there, all of his units are going to get injured or die off because we're going to be able to quickly surround them. And it also makes it really easy to micro your units because if you do see them getting low, you can just grab a couple units back at a time, and your units tend to stay alive while theirs die. Your units get to surround much quicker, and you can see at this point we got way more Lings left than they do. So he's even doing kind of the smart thing of surrounding his queen with his drones and putting them on hold position, but a little bit of hold position micro of our own, and a little, some good micro there. We were able to basically take out all of his drones and his queen and everything else. Now, when you're doing a mirror match like this where both teams are going for the same build, the defensive team usually is going to have a little bit of an advantage because you're going to notice that he's got 4 Hellions to our partner's 2 Hellions at this point. Now, our partner doesn't have late Hellions per se, but just the travel time between bases is what's going to make the defenders have a bit of an advantage here. But the team with speed first often gets, a little bit of an edge right before the Hellions start making a difference in the game. So there's not too much that happens in the next portion of the game here. Basically just a bunch of Ling-Hellion fights. And one thing you want to do, once your team does get an advantage like this, since we pretty much took orange out of the game, what you do want to do is get, a spine crawler or 2 up in your base to defend against Hellions, Ling run-by, stuff like that. Because as long as you stay 1 player ahead in the game, if both teams are making the exact same units, even if your team has, say, 2 less workers each, it's not going to be nearly as big of a deal as if the other team is down a player. Because, both my partner and I may be having just a few less drones than, say, Purple over here, although in this case he doesn't have any more workers. Just making the same units, eventually we're just going to have a production lead, and we're going to have more units to be able to win the game. So once the other team gets Blue Flame, it's a good idea to eventually transition into Roach because Lings just aren't going to be very cost efficient. But if you are up a player, it's not a bad idea to just keep going with the Lings and Hellions because there's really no need to transition to anything else. Now what you will notice here, well, he's going to end up putting down 2 starports pretty shortly, and that's also kind of the point. Right around, say, 7:30 to 8 minutes in is usually when you want to get an Evo chamber, because if someone does a Blue Flame Hellion build, if they go for Banshees afterwards, the Banshees are going to come probably about 8:30 to maybe 9 minutes in, and that's the point when you need to make sure you have at least 1 spore up so you have detection, because a Queen with a spore is more or less going to be able to buy you time, and you'll be able to at least prevent yourself from losing your base, if nothing else. So one of my partners here ended up going for Roaches, and this is just going to make it so that they can't even approach us with these Hellions anymore. And there's a double starport he's going for, a little transition. But at this point I have my Evo chamber up, I'm getting my own Roach Warren. I'm going to be putting up a Spore Crawler or 2 here in a sec. And when you do get an advantage where you're up the player, it's a good idea to make just a couple drones here and there, because you're going to have essentially, in our case we had 2 Zergs against 1 Zerg, so we're going to be able to fit in a few drones here and there and still have more Lings than the other player. And when you're going for fights with Hellions, you kind of want to attack move with a big wave at first, and then after that point you want to move in your Hellions closer and kind of get in a line so that you can basically line up all of their Hellions. So for instance, if you had a little bit of a concave here and you kind of attacked in with a wave, you would kind of want to position your Hellions right about here, and then you want to right click on one that's towards the back of their Hellions, because then all of your splash damage is going to essentially shoot through. Because Hellions, for instance, if this Hellion shoots in this direction, his range is only going to be up to about right there. So if you have all your Hellions in like a line all the way along here, they're only going to hit the first row of Hellions. But after you do your first wave where you hit and then you kind of move in closer, if you click back here, you're going to end up hitting every single one of his Hellions in a Hellion on Hellion fight. And that's what's going to end up winning you micro battles early on when you're fighting Hellions versus Hellions. So my partner was a little bit late getting turrets up here, which is some kind of an issue. But as long as he's able to get a turret up, once these turrets get up, he'll be fine. Not to mention, I believe he's got a Thor coming out. And this is one of the strong transitions you can do as a Hellion player. You can either go Banshees, Marauders, or Thors. Just kind of lots of them. These are really the best transitions you can make. Because anything else just takes a lot of... If you're going straight bio afterwards, it's kind of pointless. Just because bio isn't all that great against Lings, and it's very easy for the Zerg players just to transition into Banelings if you end up going bio. But if you go something like Marauder Hellion, you can do really well against Roaches. If you go something like Pure Mech and you expand, you're going to be able to deal with Banshees, and you're also going to have a very strong army for pushes later. You're just going to notice here that these Roaches are just demolishing the other players left in the game. And that's all that really happened there. So you can see that there's a pretty big advantage getting speed first. That just 5 to 10 seconds there where we had speed first ended up meaning that we were able to take out one of their players on their team, kill all of his drones, and from that point forward, as long as we keep producing units and we don't get too greedy tech-wise, and we make sure that we prepare ourselves for Banshees, there's really nothing that's going to cause us to lose this game. And that's how most of your games as doubles are going to go. If you get a quick advantage, you have to exploit that advantage and just keep making units so you don't lose it. Okay, now I'm going to get into another game here in just a sec. Hey guys, welcome back for game 2 here. What we're going to be looking at is when you have more Zergs than your opponent and what you should be doing strategy-wise. It makes sense to do quick pull strategies because it forces the other Zerg on the other team to go down a path of getting an early pull himself. It means he's not going to have Banelings out quickly, and you're also going to have an opportunity to do a Spine Crawler rush, which is going to make sure that he can't get Banes out. Because once he gets Banes out on the field, Zerglings are no longer cost efficient, and you really have to spend a lot of time kind of microing around his Banelings, and one, misclick might end up costing your team the game. So we're trying to get into a position where we don't have to worry about Baneling wars being a real issue, because that makes for a very volatile matchup. So both my partner and I end up going for a 10 pull build, and then we get our gas here, and we're just going to be going for speed, and we're both going to bring a drone and do a Spine Crawler rush on the Zerg player right here. Our Terran partner is going for a gas first build, but since he's going to find out that there's 2 Protoss in the game, the best follow-up to this is instead of getting just mass Blue Flame Hellion, you want to actually, you're probably better off going for Marauder Hellion, or even going maybe just pure Bio in this case. But Hellion into Bio is a good choice against 2 Protoss as well. So you can see we both have a drone here. And all we really need to do is just buy time for our spine crawlers to get up. If he pulls all of his workers off of minerals, he might be able to hold this off, but then he's going to lose mining time, and then our second and third waves of zerglings. And especially once the Hellions get over here, they're going to make all the difference, and then he's not going to be able to defend this any longer. If, for instance, you are a Zerg player in this position, you're trying to defend against 2 other Zergs when they do some kind of spine crawler rush, what you need to do is probably the best build would be a 12 pull build where you do a double extractor trick before you get your Overlord, get your pull down on 12, and then what you'll want to do is make sure you have a spine crawler at each end of your hatch so that they can't attack your hatchery. So you'd probably want to have one spine crawler somewhere around here, and then have the other one maybe, say, right here. And this is just going to make sure that it can't set up spine crawlers that are hitting your hatchery without your spine crawlers being able to defend it. Because if you do a 12 pull, yes, your pull is going to be up a little bit later, but you're still going to be able to get spine crawlers up within about 5 seconds of them getting to your base. So there's no way that they're going to be able to cancel the spine crawlers. But good players are still usually going to be able to kill you off anyways, assuming they have Hellions or something else coming in to help out. But the reason that we do this spine crawler rush is because it makes it so much easier to defend these spine crawlers, well, obviously, but also so we can guarantee that this hatch will die no matter what. Because if, for instance, we don't bring spine crawlers and he has one sitting back here and we just have lings, we have no way of finishing off his hatchery without losing a whole bunch of zerglings in the process. And unless if our Terran partner has something like Marines or Marauders, he's not going to be able to kill the hatchery either. So the spine crawlers are very quickly going to take this out. So you notice that our spine crawlers are up somewhere around maybe a little before 5 minutes into the game, and within about a minute to a minute 30, we were able to take out his hatchery. So that's one player that's just completely out of the game at this point. So what you just want to do after this point is just continue making units because you need to kind of stabilize a little bit. You can obviously make a few drones, but I probably wouldn't make any more than, say, 5 to 10 at this point. Because if you over-drone too much, you're going to find that their counterattack is probably just going to kill you.